Hello, all you hardcores. We're joined by James. How are you doing, James?
I'm all right, mate. Good to be back with the main man. How are you?
All right, you've had a shave.
I've had a shave. I've got aftershave on and all that. I went out yesterday with a lady friend, so thought I'd make an effort. So I'm a bit cream crackered, so you might actually be able to talk this time and get a word in edgeways.
Where did you go on date?
Salford Keys, which is like, it's where the BBC is. So we just went to a pub and got a little bit of oil, to be honest with you. But it was a nice evening.
A little bit of what?
A little bit oiled, like pissed up.
Oh yeah. Well, you didn't drive back in remapped wheelchair, did you?
No, I had my electric wheelchair. Like I shouldn't have been driving that. Bloody hell!
Go
But
on.
no one got killed, so we're all right.
Are you seeing her again?
Yeah, we'll do. She's lovely.
Go on, lad. How did you meet her?
On a sounds a bit. I met her on a disabled dating site.
Go on, lad. Well, at least you turned up, didn't you, mate?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, she turned up. Yeah, so she's. I thought she had cataracts, bless her, but I've made quite a good impression, so that's what it's all about, isn't it? I went on a disabled dating site because I'm sick of like mainstream ones. You talk to a girl and that, you seem to be getting on all right, and as soon as I mention the chair, you get blanked. So I thought, fuck it, I can't be asked justifying myself. Let's just go in there, and you know what I mean. I can just be me now, so it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. As soon as you mention the wheelchair, they go, "Oh, retreat, retreat, retreat."
Yeah, either that or they want me for me pip. So
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Right then. Well, let's get stuck straight in then. It's looking like Anthony Yard has signed a new deal with Bricktop. What do you think to that?
It's very interesting, isn't it? Is he still part of the entourage? His trainer.
Well, trainers, Tunde Ajayi's come out. He's had plenty to say here, there, and everywhere. But I can't stomach him listening to him. I think the man's basically a ponce. So
Yeah.
I think Yard would probably do a lot better without him in his corner because he's basically had Yard parked up 2 years because of his mouth.
Hmm.
That's my opinion. That's what I'm hearing behind the scenes. But I don't know. But if Yard's loyal to him, so be it. But maybe Yard might need to keep him as trainer and just keep him out of way as regards any decisions.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I don't think he's much cop as a trainer. He had started doing a lot better when he brought James Cook on board. I mean, James Cook wasn't the number one man, but he obviously had a bit of input, and Yard started to look a lot more capable. You know what I mean? So, well, I don't know. There's obviously loyalty there, and you can't knock the man for being loyal. Um, Fair play to him, but yeah, it's his career, isn't it? But I think he's done the best thing he can do for his wallet, Anthony Yard. So fair play to him for getting back with Bricktop. That's where the money is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where the money. That's where the more is money. The money is James. He's got to keep Bricktop happy. And
Yeah,
listen, if Bricktop's took him back, he needs him down the line.
yeah,
All right.
definitely, definitely.
Uh, okay. Looks like Adrian Mole crumbled though on the old. I'm Team Anthony Yard and I've got fights lined up for him. He looks like he's been put out to pasture, doesn't it? Ben Shalom.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's made a bit of a fool of himself in the past week, hasn't he? He come out, didn't he, was it on a Sky show or a recent show, and just said, "Oh yeah, it's done. Martin Piccoli, Anthony Joshua, Africa in the summer," and then Eddie Hills just turned around and gone, "We've not even had a conversation. So who's lying?" You know what I mean? But either way, he's made him. Well, either Eddie's made him look like a fool, or he's made himself look like a fool. I think Sky need to just Sky have gone very, very quiet, haven't they? I mean, obviously, DAZN's taken over the boxing sphere at the moment, and I think it's in no small part to Hadrian Mole. I just don't think he's got the personality, and he hasn't got the contact book, has he? So, you know,
What you've got to look at is this, right? He's a young kid who did a handful of shows, and I mean less than one handful. And he got a big gig like that. How he got it, we don't know, but he got the gig. He'd done nothing. And obviously, Bricktop and Eddie Hills, a Sebin, they'd love to get back on Sky and share them dates. They would love that.
Yeah,
But what they've done behind the scenes, they've just messed him about. They've led him down that many merry paths. He's done all his time and effort in on all sorts of nonsense. Instead of being his own man and being firm, they've tied him up with threats, innuendos, this and that, and backstabbed him and all sorts. He's in a situation where his head is totally spinning. And let's have it right. Best fight he's probably put on is Kell Brook Khan, and it was 10 years too late.
yeah. For competitiveness, and I mean, I don't really talk about women's boxing very much, and I think the biggest fight he's put on really was Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. I mean, that garnered interest with me, and I don't even really like women's boxing, so I weren't interested in Kell Brook and Khan for the same reasons that I wasn't interested in. I'm not interested in Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. The ship sailed, as you said. So I'm no interest. Two losers fighting it out. What do I want to see that for?
I mean, weren't they not long ago going on about women's boxing's taking over at Sky and all that when they had Savannah Marshall and Shields on, and now they've got this four-fight one on March 7th. I mean,
Mm,
the card, Jonas and that other fight, that's all right, but that's not a done deal yet unless there's drug testing.
you know,
What I
think
mean,
there will be.
eh?
You think there will be drug testing?
Yeah, Savannah's tried to get on that card and she's been told no.
Yep. She come out, didn't she, and said she's been let down. So, and that's been their bread and butter, really, Sky. That's been their niche, I should say, the women's boxing since Shalom's come on board. And I think, to me, Savannah Marshall, when she's been on form, is the most exciting because she's a puncher, isn't she? In the women's game, she's the most exciting proponent of women's boxing. And I think to sort of sour her, you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit there.
Well, if Savannah's not happy, she can go back to MMA, can't she?
Well, yeah.
Oh, it's not rocket science. She can't just go to MMA and then decide to come back and think you're going to get slots. They're not going to have that. It's boxing, isn't it?
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. She looks to me like she might have shot her own self in foot there.
Yeah. Is she still with Peter?
Well, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, is Peter being frozen out with Yui?
Well, I'd say so. When's his next fight? Do you know what I mean?
Well, we're supposed to be an announcement this week, isn't there? But why are these
Mm,
YouTubers interviewing people like Peter and Dylan White and not mentioning about Povetkin and that Yui and Dylan White obviously have now got a no contest supposed to be going off the record? Why are YouTubers not mentioning it to them, but and they're not mentioning it to David Price either? It's like they don't want to talk about testing processes
no,
and what goes on behind the scenes. Do they? Nobody wants to mention that, do they, about Povetkin? Why is nobody mentioning that? It's a big thing, that, I think, James.
yeah, of course it is. It's massive. But if they mention that, then everybody's going to be screaming hypocrite. Because it's like, well, let's mention everything else. Let's mention all the whispers about Lee Wood serving a silent ban. Let's talk about Connor Trent. You know what I mean? Or Connor Hen, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they don't want to be. They probably, well, they get hurt feelings, don't they? YouTubers. Look at Puppy Parsons. He gets hurt just because I say, look, well, I understand why he gets hurt, but he's a sensitive boy, isn't he? So they don't want people shouting out and calling him a hypocrite, so they're not going to mention it.
Well, when I was a kid, my mum used to say to me, silence is golden, Russell, but I just used to shoot from hip. But I look at it like this. If you're a YouTuber and you're talking to David Price, a retired fighter for many years, the first thing you want to say to David Price is, David, how do you feel about the news that's out there that that you got beat by Povetkin, who at the time was juiced out in his mind? Do you feel great that that's getting took off your record? But nobody is mentioning it to him, and David's not even fighting, so they're definitely not going to mention it to Huey and his dad or Dylan White, are they?
No, certainly not.
And I think that's
It's,
a bad indictment on the sport. Because if I'd been beat by somebody who were a jug cheat, I'd be screaming blue murder. I'd be saying, "Brilliant! I want compensation."
yeah, I mean, some are. Some are. Look at Devin Haney. And he might not be everyone's cup of tea. And I do find it quite funny because he wants everyone to eradicate it from his mind that he had the shit beaten out of him.
Uh,
But technically, he's correct. You know what I mean? He's taking him to court, he's suing him, and he's doing the right thing. I think that's what everybody should be doing. I think there should be criminal charges levied against these individuals who, if they're knowingly doing it and it's found that they're knowingly doing it, prison. It's GBH, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go balls deep then. Paul Dempsey, the commentator last night, did he lose his shit regarding Del Boy being like Ernie Shavers and George Foreman and what were all that?
I know. It was a bit embarrassing. I mean, I watched the fight myself. I caught up on it this afternoon, and it was an all right affair, but it was nothing special, was it? It was a bit like a sparring session. You had Del Boy switching from orthodox to southpaw, doing his occasional Joe Frazier, like bad impression of Joe Frazier, where he's rolling underneath things and all that. Like what? I don't really get what the hype is really. He's 41 for God's sake. Like, yeah, he's an hard man, but for God's like, did Michael Sprott or any of the other journeyman heavyweights did they get the same level of fanfare? Do you know what I mean? Sprott was a brilliant fighter, I thought, but
Yeah.
no one was shouting from the rooftops, and so yeah, it is a bit bizarre. But but boxing's becoming a bit of a lovey's club, isn't it? You're all in. Sky's always been like that. I know this was on TNT, but Sky was always like it, and I don't know. You've got to be nice to Dereck because he's in with the Saudis and they're all mates, aren't they? So I think that's what that was. Arse kissing session.
James, in boxing, there is no mates.
No.
They come up to you, pat you on the back, high five you, and then when you walk off, they slag you. All right?
Yep. Yep.
It's the biggest two-facedness you will ever see in your life.
Hmm.
And then they'll come crawling back the week later, sit in your office and tell you the best thing since sliced bread if they can get on a show. People will sell their souls for a pound note in boxing. I've seen it. I've seen it
Yep.
close up. And it's so embarrassing. I used to sit in that office with Dennis when people would leave. I'm not going to mention any names, and they know who they are. They'd leave, and we would howl, and I'd say, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe what they were coming out with, Dennis, after everything that happened 2 months ago." And he'd be like, "See what I mean? They sell their arseholes to get up on a show." See where I'm coming from? So,
Mm.
but it is what it is. After Del Boy's win, oh sorry, we'll talk about Del Boy's fight with Otto the Wally, who
Mm.
the TV people were bigging up as, oh, he gave Tyson Fury all he could and all that. That was 5 years ago, right?
Yep.
After the fight, they stood in the ring and they had pictures of Big Meech, John Coffey, and Usyk, right? Oh, Del Boy wants next. Del Boy's hit list. Oh my God, man, pushing 42-year-old. What did you think to that, James?
It's bloody ridiculous. He's 41 years old. Why are we? He shouldn't be fighting anymore. He's like, I think that's become my saying. He's heading for Pip. I said it about bloody Joe Joyce, didn't I? They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be pushing the narrative anymore. Yeah, he was an old warrior, but the problem is with boxing, it's not like a game of football where you lose a yard and you're a bit slower. No, you slow down in boxing, your brain cells are being depleted. You know what I mean? It's disability. And he already, what do you always say, Russ? He sounds like Scooby Doo. Don't go in there with. I mean, the only one out of them three that he could possibly beat is Joshua, but that's because Joshua's a busted flush as well. But don't do it. I could probably see the Joshua fight, to be honest, because it's a bit like with Fury, isn't it? Them two are Finchley boys. They have a love in together and make a few quid. But you're going with Usyk, you're asking for trouble.
Well, listen, this is how I look at it, right? This is how they could sell them fights. If you bought John Coffey, right, they'd have to sell it as Don Charles were like a father to me and he's training John Coffey. That's how they sell that one. If you fought Joshua, they say master against pupil from the same amateur club.
Yeah.
And if you fought Usyk, he'd say he wants revenge because Tony Bellew and Bombay Dave said he got robbed in first one. That's how they'd sell them. And do you know what? The brass neck on Bricktop and all the rest of them involved. Eddie Hills, and that Triple T Turkey geezer. They'd do that and they'd watch him get smashed up.
Yep.
They would, honestly, they don't care for Dereck Chisora. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
war for him just to get out of bed in the morning. That's why his middle name's War.
Yep.
I mean, I thought Walling were what's the word? Carried him. I mean, that first
Yeah.
time, what do you think to that? It was soft, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was soft. He didn't pull the trigger. And I found Chisora was every time he was throwing the jab. I don't know if you noticed, but he sort of ducked down. Like he couldn't even really. I mean, he was throwing a straight jab, but he was sort of ducking down every time he threw the shot. Like he was like fright. I don't know whether he was frightened or something like that. But his form wasn't there. His form wasn't there at all. Chisora. He looked like a shot fighter. And I think Wallen was just sort of told, go in there, make it look believable, but he could have pulled the trigger and he didn't. So yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yeah, okay. Uh, so that were an IBF eliminator. And obviously, Dubois, aka John Coffey, he's the champion, but basically by default, isn't it?
Yep.
Bacoli and Jagba, there's the final eliminator. They fight, and winner of that gets John Coffey. But if John Coffey beats Parker, but this is how I look at it. Bacoli and Jagba are not commercially viable, are they?
No.
Would you put it past them, the winner of that, getting step aside so that they could put Dereck Chisora in with John Coffey if he beats Parker?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because, like I say, you've got the narrative there, and and that's all boxing's about nowadays, telling a story. It's a bit sad, really. The story and the narrative is put ahead of actual sort of achievements. He shouldn't be near a world title shot. He's going to have trouble putting his socks on in a couple of years. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't have a license now. You know what I mean? He's slurring. He's like I was last night. So yeah, a bit of a mess.
Are you slurring, James, or slurping?
Well. A gentleman never tells, Russ. But
That
yeah.
means you've got no then. Pop, pop, bang.
All right.
Okay. Uh, Del Boy against Joshua, though. Come on. Come on.
I think he could do it because, like, this is what's sad. Because I'm saying Dereck Chisora shot to shit, but Joshua's frightened of his own shadow. And, you know, John Coffey just put it on him, didn't he? Put it on him, and I think that's all Chisora has to do. He's going to do his bad Joe Frazier impression. That's going to go into overdrive. As soon as he leans on Joshua's chest, Joshua needs room to work and, detonate the right hand. Chisora won't give him that room, and I'd fancy him to stop Joshua,
Would you?
to be honest. Yeah, I would. Again, it's not a fight I've any interest in seeing at all. Joshua just needs to. Well, he doesn't need to fight because he's worth about 200 million or something, I think. So he can walk away. Like, I'm sick of this current crop. They just keep recycling. It's like the old heavyweight carousel of the sort of 2000s, with Sprott, not mentioning Sprott again, Danny Williams, Audley Harrison.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a higher skill level there, but we don't need to keep recycling them.
Yeah, well, but there ain't that many stars coming through, is there, at heavyweight? Is there really?
No, yeah, I'd agree with that. There's not. I just want to see Moses Atelma
Do you
get
feel,
he.
James, that Fabio Wardley don't get his flowers and David Adler, they don't seem to get a mix, do they? Mention much, do they?
No, well, it's understandable David Adley not because, but not Wardley. I mean, Wardley's not getting his flowers because he's destructive. And
Yeah.
they won't put him anywhere near. They will not put him anywhere near Joshua because again he'll get banjoed. Um, He's not glamorous, is he?
Can I
He's
ask you something, James? Do you think that Wardley is etching into the Martin Bacoli sort of bracket as the who needs him guy?
yeah, because he's the way he destroyed Fraser Clark. I don't
Yeah.
think that did him any favors, really.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, is it?
No. No, I see where you're coming from with that.
Hmm.
Uh, let's have a look. Lawrence Okoli and React Forte on DAZN's debut show with Bricktop April 5th. What do you think to that?
Okoli should win that, and he'll win it by looking awkward. I wasn't impressed with Riakporhe against Chris Billum-Smith, and I really thought that Riakporhe would get the job done. But after that, like if you're not, I mean, Billum-Smith, fair play to him, but he's quite a sort of basic sort of level champion, if you know what I mean. He was like a modern day Steve Robinson, very lucky to get hold of the belt, and he made a couple of defences and that, but. Yeah, I'd fancy a Coley because a Coley, when he wants to go, he can pull the trigger, can't he? But he can fight ugly and do a Henry in one day and tie him up like an octopus. So I think it'll be quite an ugly fight, and I think a Coley will get through it quite convincingly.
It's a big step up for React Forte at heavyweight, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's a good fight. It's a decent fight though because he's not going to get in with any of the big boys, is he? I think he just needs to quietly go about his business, and that is a quiet assignment, isn't it? Because Riekpo, like you say, he's not. It'll be his first test at heavyweight, and go out behind the scenes and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Here's one for you. Apparently, it's going to be announced tomorrow.
Go on.
Dylan White, the can man, anybody who wants it can get it. And Juggernaut Joe Joyce, big stiff, big dummy. Apparently, it's going to be announced tomorrow. So I'm hearing on grapevine, but it could be knackers. But what do you think?
Well, it's just disgraceful, really. They're both shot. This is what I'm saying about the carousel. Just get them. What
Get
everybody's
them
hanging
both
around.
on, get them out of Dodge.
Yeah, this is what
Tell
I
them
mean.
there's no
Everyone's hanging
room at
around.
the inn.
No, everyone's hanging around because of the Saudis. And whilst, I've been critical of the Saudis, but I'm also not. I'm a bit sort of like 50-50 with them. But like, while they've got the money and they're making the big fights, every man and his dog, like you say, they'll do anything for a pound note. And that also means, compromising your health. But Joe Joyce should not be anywhere near a ring. He's probably the one candidate who I think's more deserving of retirement than Dereck Chisora. He's just like his brain like a couple of weeks ago. I told you, didn't I, watching that video where he just stopped mid sentence. He short circuited. He's got potential bloody CTE written all over him. Get him away. It's
Okay,
sad, really.
okay then, James. Let me ask you this.
Hmm.
You know, you people like White Rhinos and It's Big Freeze. He's just had a bad knockout, and he's already, with a big dint in his head. And
Yeah.
your Joe Joyce as Zhang's an old man, isn't he? And the AJ's been knocked about. And you think these fighters who are hanging around for more money and more money out of pure greed, do you think sooner or later somebody's going to get really hurt?
Yeah.
Do
Well,
don't.
that's my point. Joe Joyce is, he's lined up to get really hurt.
Dylan White, I mean, he's showing signs of blah, 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 stuttering and mumbling away, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they just need to get off the scene. If the Saudis weren't about, they wouldn't be fighting, would they? Let's face it. Um, and these guys, like you've got agency. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do as long as you've got a license. You can fight on. But at the end of the day, it's a sport of boxing that gets hurt as well because everyone's just going to be like, well, what? Why are they allowed to fight and all that? Well, they're grown men at the end of the day. But I don't want to see it. Not interested.
Yeah, it's shocking, really, isn't it? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, road to Pip. It is shocking. And if you're Joe Joyce's family, like yeah, it can't be very nice. I think he seems like a really nice bloke. You know, if something happened to say Conor Ben, I wouldn't be asked at all. I think he's a like people say he's a nice guy, but he's a horrible, comes across a horrible little urchin, doesn't he? But Joe Joyce seems like a decent fella, and it's just a waste. He's not a thicko either, is he? Do you know what I mean? He's got that fine arts degree, so he's obviously got a bit of culture about him. Just get out and do something else.
Well, they're not going to do because once they've got the taste of that money, they're not going to let it go. Here's a
No.
few fantasy fights for you. Ernie
Hmm.
Shavers against Joe Egan. How would you have that?
Oh well, with Joe Egan, I mean, he was sparring with prime Mike Tyson, wasn't he? So you've got to go with Joe there.
Yeah,
I'd
you'd have to
say,
be Joe that one.
yeah,
George
definitely
Foreman against Fraser Clark.
George Foreman all day.
White Rhino against Ali.
Well, Dave Allen, clearly
Tim Witherspoon against Dylan White.
with a spoon. He was a very very underrated boxer, I think, and he was a world champion, wasn't he, with a spoon? But I don't think he went as far as he could have gone. To be honest, I thought he was a great boxer. Don King ruined him, didn't he?
Hey,
Don King ruined Tim Witherspoon in a sense. He got 75 grand he got for Frank Bruno
$90,000
after all
ago. I don't know what they
oh,
took off
was it?
that.
Right, okay.
He used
Well, it
to
was
be
like,
he used to be Dennis Hobson's dad's driver.
oh, did he? So you got a bit of the insider scoop.
No, I know he got $90,000. It's on a program. He didn't tell me. It's on a program on there. They put the wage slip up when he sued Don King, and he was sued him for $1 million and won.
Yeah.
What about Larry Holmes against Elmer Fudd, Johnny Fisher?
You're taking a mick now, aren't you?
Well, he said he'll
Um,
fight any heavyweight.
well, just I'll ask you afterwards, actually. But yeah, like Larry Holmes just peppers him with a jab, doesn't he? He
Yeah,
wouldn't even need two
you'd have
arms,
thought,
mate.
you'd have thought Larry would have seen him off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
All them we've just spoke about, basically, your Dylan Whites, your Joe Joyces, your Dereck Chisoras, Otto Wallin, uh, basically are like shot to shit, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why I have a problem with it because, as I say, in football you lose half a yard, you're not really hurting yourself. In boxing, it means the difference between being able to say a sentence and not, and it's not right.
Okay. My team got beat 1-0 by Plymouth Argyle, and people online are screaming for manager's head. I mean, my argument is this, right? Whatever happened to the magic of the cup? Why would you be at the top of your game, top of the league, won all your Champions League matches or whatever?
Hmm.
Why would you put the C team out in FA Cup? When I was a kid, right? I should put this on my other channel actually, Porky's International, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
say it while I say it now.
Cool.
When I was a kid, I used to get up in the morning and I used to watch grandstands. You know when it worked cup final day, and you
Yeah.
sit there all day with your bags of French fries, Walker's French fries, salt and vinegar, Mars bar, can of cola, with proper opening can at top. Proper old school.
Yeah.
You'd be there all day from 9 a.m. until tea time, just watching the magic of the cup, and they show you the highlights from all season of it.
Mm.
Now you've got managers, Arsenal, that do the same thing, and other teams. It's like they don't care about the FA Cup. But we're talking about the FA Cup here, one of the greatest cups ever. It just
Hmm.
winds me up. And as soon as I've seen that team here, that other team, they're going to get a lift, aren't they? Looking at that, a team at bottom at Championship, dominating Liverpool. And when I look at the
Yeah.
team that they put out, they put a load of babbies out.
Yeah.
I'm raging here, mate. I thought we were going for quadruple.
Well, they're not. The FA Cup don't bring in as much money, does it?
Now, it's
That's
losing.
all it's about.
Whatever happened to the magic of the cup? I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Years ago, right? Wait, Roy Keating did something against Crystal Palace, some back pass or whatever, and it ended
Mm.
up that they ended up having to, Cloughie ended up having to do a replay in in, London or something. He walked straight up to Keane in the dressing room and punched him. You know what I
Bloody
mean? Hey,
hell.
young man, punch straight in face. Just like that's how important it is. You've got
Yeah.
the Liverpool players today. They were just strolling about like they didn't have a care in world. It's the FA Cup, you dicks. Winds
They
me
don't
up.
care. They don't
Winds
care.
me up. You up, mate?
They don't care. Would you care? Well, you would care, yeah. But you're
Of
getting
course
paid
I
300 grand a
would.
week.
I've got pals, right? One of my pals, he's on my billboard inside my office and not outside. He's an ambassador for Everton Football Club, Ian Snowden. He won't league with Everton. I don't think Ian's got an FA Cup medal, but when they played in FA Cup games, the tackles were flying in. And
Mm.
it meant something. Even teams around here, Worksop Town and that, and they play in qualifying rounds and Yorkshire Main and stuff and Frickley and all that. They like it'd go off at any stage, and people were like, "It's the FA Cup. It's serious, but it's serious bollocks, mate." To
Oh,
me, it
cheers.
is, and I've just watched that game there, and it's just set me off, put me in a bad
Bloody
mood.
hell. Well, you're an Englishman as well, though, Ross, aren't you? A lot
Uh,
of these players are, I'm not being xenophobic, but a lot of these players are international players, so they're not going to give a toss about the FA Cup. The FA Cup is an English institution. They're coming from abroad. They don't really give a shit.
Darwin Núñez walking off pitch on 220 grand a week, laughing and joking and all that. And
Yeah,
what's all that about?
it is wrong, isn't it?
Anyway, do you want to go on? Do you want to go on to part two, kid?
Yeah, defo. See you in a bit.
That's in a minute. Well, that was James. That was his story on part one. Bit of a boring cunt. We'll look forward to seeing you on part two. Maybe we might get to find out if James ended up getting leg over with that bird from Barnsley. Pop, pop, bang. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. We'll see you in a minute. And I do apologise for the wheelchair gag. You know, I didn't know James had not had his wheelchair remapped, because if I had one, it'd be remapped, I can assure you.